Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Turning Point Review. Let's see if TNA has done well enough to equal what they did for Bound for Glory. First thing they did was open the show with Taz, which they don't usually do. And he was talking about Hurricane Sally. He lives in Long Island, not far from where I live. And he was basically trying to get people to donate. Now, Bully Ray and a guy named Buckethead, he's in Florida where they were doing the show, came to the ring and wanted to do a Guinness Book of World Records of everyone in the Impact Arena, text at the same time, to donate to the, I believe it was the Red Cross, for Hurricane Sally victims. I don't remember hearing how they did that night. Probably they did, I just didn't see it. But hey, people were willing to blow $10 on their cell bill to help people, which is cool. You don't have to like Taz. You can like Taz. You don't have to like Bully Ray or like him, or even Buckethead. But this was meant to help the people. I live in New York. I know people in Long Island who are suffering, so this was cool. The first match of the night, and if I go by my original list, and I got my list, my list was not accurate, and I said this clearly in my predictions. This was if TNA did a very weird type of booking similar to WWE and what they did in Hell in a Cell. So the first match to open up actually was the TV title between Magnus and Samoa Joe. It was a good match. I was worried that it was going to be the same kind of matches over and over again, but I knew they had good chemistry in the ring, which they do. Joe looked very good here. Magnus looked very good. Magnus lost to another pretty much rear naked choke. But you know what? The match was so good. The people were so behind Joe. It really doesn't matter if Magnus lost his match. I don't think he lost anything. What the question is, what are they going to do from now? Are they going to continue this feud between Magnus and Joe? Or are they going to finally break Joe off from Magnus and have Joe go off against someone like the Pope? I know the Pope is still injured, but the thing is that they need to have someone else to go up against Joe. Put someone there. So the next thing we have is, and I wish to say clearly, several things were wrong with this show. One, Jeremy Boyage only interviewed the #1 contenders. He interviewed Austin Aries, which was nothing wrong with that. And he interviewed ODB when it came to Eric Young coming back. He did not interview Samoa Joe. He didn't interview Magnus. He didn't interview the tag team champions. He did interview Joseph Parks, which wasn't too bad, but he really missed out on interviewing a lot of people. And I don't get it. And worse yet, Christy Hemme was not utilized when she was allowed to interview anybody who was going for a championship, or it would have been good for the #1 contenders. Nothing. So I really give bad points for that. Also, Mike Tenay was on commentary again. He only had one moment for the night for me that he sounded enthusiastic. The rest of the thing, the one person that sounded the most enthusiastic was Todd. Taz was second. Taz, mainly as I believe it, is supposed to give psychology of the ring and the psychology of wrestling and the characters, in other words, the wrestlers. He can give energy when it's needed, but he's not the one that's supposed to give energy. It's his partner. And Todd did more work than Mike Tenay, and it pisses the crap out of me that he's still there. If Todd is being a release for Mike Tenay, I can't wait until Mike Tenay is gone, because Mike Tenay sucks. So, as I said, we had Eric Young come back. He was interviewed with ODB and JB. One of the things I liked about it was that I'm not trying to be sexist, ladies and gentlemen, but you know what? I'm a guy. I'm going to go for what makes me interesting. ODB is a very good character. ODB is a sexy woman with a nice body. The thing is that she hasn't been packaged well. So I'm going to go for the parts that are at least the most interesting. Her character at this moment with Eric Young is not that totally interesting. It's her sex appeal that's still getting me. Not saying that she can't talk good. She can't do good mic skills. It's just that she's not being utilized properly. Now, the match itself was going to be pivoted around basically Eric Young being there. And when he was, the crowd was very behind him. I want to make sure if I knew exactly. The part that I liked the most was that during the match, Eric Young did his funny skits. He always messed with everyone. He messed with the ref, which is Tara Terrell. She kind of looked a little excited more, and she looked a little shocked. Eric Young, no matter how you play it, how his character has been, he used to be hardcore, used to do some good stuff when it was X Division and part of Air, I believe, Air Can, I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, I really didn't see much of TNA during that time. I was watching WWE, but Air Canada, if that was it, he did great work there. That's what I understand. This time around, being the skit type of person, when he was with, yeah, I ain't even gonna say the guy's name because Orlando, I gotta say his name. Orlando dressing as a girl just was ridiculous. That part I did see. But honestly, he's not that bad. People was really behind him. They were really happy to see him win. The question now is that, is he done with his show? Or is the show now been stopped for a while? You know how they go with every 2 or 3 months they do it and then they stop and then they go back to it. If he's back in TNA now doing the stuff with basically ODB, that's going to question. I do know that from the British Fist that his contract may be up. So if it is up, the question is that are they going to break these two apart the right way? Are they going to actually show it or not? If they don't, then they should have never done this in the first place. A lot of times it's important, if a wrestler is leaving the company, you must split off anything they're doing properly. If ODB and Eric Young are going to have to be separated because Eric Young's contract is up and he's not coming back, maybe to do his Extreme Bass Fishing show, they need to break them up properly. So this is going to be the question. Is he going to stay or is he going to go? If he goes, will they break them properly so they can have continuity with the storyline they make? Next, we have the X Division Championship with RVD versus Joey Ryan. The match wasn't very long. I didn't mind the match too badly. It was obvious that most of the work was done by RVD. He got over. It was obvious. He got the work he wanted. He got over. Joey Ryan didn't give a bad showing. He didn't. I mean, it wasn't great. Like I said, I still believe he's a bit green and he's still a little shaky in the ring. Even though he may have 5 to 9 years worth of wrestling behind him, doing a pay-per-view is a little different, even though this is his second one. So at the end, we get the carbon footprint into basically RVD's face. And the question appears to me, I'm not saying they would put the X Division Championship around Matt Morgan's waist. No, I doubt they're going to do this. This is for Joey Ryan. But if they start doing a bit of a feud with RVD and Matt Morgan, I might not be too disappointed in it. Under the understanding that this progresses basically Matt Morgan up. He needs to go through people that Hulk Hogan really is behind. We already know RVD is behind Hulk Hogan. And if they're going to go by a real storyline, which is almost paralleling what's going on, you got to have Matt Morgan mess with RVD eventually, even if it's not for the title. Now, if it was for the title, I'd be kind of surprised. I would be. I would expect Joey Ryan to get this because he really is a newcomer there. He needs that title to really begin to get more interesting. So he can either go springboard from that into the tag teams with somebody or maybe get the television title later. But if Matt Morgan gets it, I'll be very surprised later in the months that's going to happen. So we'll find out on this coming Impact what's going to happen, if it's going to still be with Joey Ryan and RVD, or if RVD and Matt Morgan do something. Now the next part we have is Joseph Park's interview. And the most important thing is that it doesn't matter if I'm an attorney or a wrestler, it matters if I'm a man. That will get a lot of appeal to a lot of people. I can understand that a lot because, look, for men and also women to prove their existence. They don't want someone to bash them down. You want to prove that you deserve to exist. In this case, for men, you want to show that you're a man. So Joseph Park in this was very nice. Now Parks versus Doc. This is where the thing I was very intrigued about, because look, the Abyss character has very rarely gone up against someone big as him or bigger. The only person in the recent record right now has been Bully Ray. But that's when he was acting as Joseph Parks, not as Abyss. So having Doc, who's actually way bigger than Joseph Parks. Look, this is Bully Ray to Joseph Parks. He's not that much bigger. This is Doc to Joseph Parks. He is bigger. He's about almost as big as Matt Morgan. At least almost as big. I doubt he's bigger, but he's just a little bit shorter. So seeing this fight was actually quite interesting. I wasn't too upset about how the ring work was being done, because this was more about storytelling. The people were behind Parks 100% from the very moment the ring of the bell to the very end. And once he started bleeding, everybody was cheering because they knew what happened with Bully Ray, about him turning into the Abyss character for a few seconds and screaming and yelling and doing the black hole slam. Everybody was happy about it. They were surprised that he kicked out, but everybody was happy. At the end of it, Joseph Park lost, and when Bully Ray came out to exonerate, in other words, to show that this is a man, ladies and gentlemen, that was a good touch. What happens now is a question. Will the Abyss character reemerge when they're talking about the ancient evil awakens? Will it be something entirely different? Will Joseph Park continue being in this instead of going back to the Abyss? This is a question I'm sure a few people are saying, maybe we should have Abyss back. But you know what? Like The Undertaker, if you're going to see, like when it came to the Off the Rope show saying, who is better, Macho Man Randy Savage or The Undertaker? The Undertaker, which was stated by the Sleg Daddy, which I do agree, has changed his character more than a few times to keep up with the times. This is the same concept. You cannot always have the same character. Ergo, look at RVD. He's been the same person for at least 15 to 19 years since he's been wrestling from ECW, ECW, WWE, and now TNA. He has been the same character. He has not changed himself, and he's become stale to many people. No matter if you like him or not, even though he's a decently good wrestler that mixes a little martial arts in with his wrestling, he's the same. People get bored with that after a while. So you need to vary your character from time to time, not to lose interest with the people. Having Joseph Parks is a good thing. If they keep it permanently, I don't believe so. I do believe they may keep this up for more than a few more months, maybe 5, maybe 6 months more, before they may switch him back to the Abyss in some form or fashion. But I don't mind it. I'm very intrigued to see what they're going to do with Joseph Parks now. Will he just act like an attorney again? Will he still be trying to do something in the ring? Will the Abyss character reassert itself in his personality, or will we see him on a Titantron or whatever? I wouldn't mind seeing it. Now, the Tag Team Championship. Kaz and Daniels versus Chavo and Superman. Superman, baby. We have a standard match. It wasn't super great. By the time the Abyss... No, not Abyss, sorry. Thinking about Abyss. By the time the Parks and Doc match was over, the crowd was a bit flat. I think they peaked out and just was flat like this for a while. It took halfway through the match before people started cheering for Chavo, especially when he got hurt in his ribs, or his midsection. By the time the match was near its end, they were cheering very prominently for Chavo, but the thing was that there was some good heel heat. Not great, but good. And I believe Kaz and Daniels had this match. I believe not just because they were going to win it, but because of the storytelling. I mean, it was more interesting with Kaz and Daniels than it was with Chavo and Superman. As I said in my prediction, I believe the main reason Chavo's not in singles is that they want to push him into the main event scene. I'm sure in some form or fashion, he said when he first arrived there, look, I want to be champion eventually. One time at least. I want it. But for him to do that, he's got to progress up the card. He can't just get it because people know he isn't a great wrestler. He's a good mid-card wrestler, but not a main event wrestler. So they're going to have to convince the people to basically bring him up. So this is where it comes down to. Chavo is being basically prominently featured in the tag teams. Eventually he'll break off into singles and then he'll start working from there. But right now we need him to have a championship, which they did. They got the championship. They have now retained the championship. The question is now, who are they going to go up against? I don't know. Unless they're going to keep doing Kaz and Daniels. Sorry about that with Kazarian Daniels. If they're going to continue this with those two, it's going to get dull eventually because you need to give them more wrestlers. And we don't have that many wrestlers. Kaz and Daniels is pretty much it. Unless they're going to pair someone else up. I don't know who, but I hope they do it soon. Now, sorry about the sneeze. Now the next bit. The number one contenders, and they were all prominently interviewed. Like I said earlier, they got their interviews. I'm very disappointed about the TV title having no interviews, the tag team titles having no interviews. I was very upset about that. There was no need for it. Sorry. So, seeing them getting prominently featured was okay. I had no problem with it. So, how was the match? I think it was the match of the night. Honestly. This was the match of the night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure many people are going to say that one of the other matches was the match of the night. I can agree with them under one condition. That, tell me who you really believe was going to win. Many people are going to say Storm. True. That makes some sense, particularly if they're going to keep the feud going on with Robert Roode. I said the best person to win would have been AJ Styles. For the simple fact that AJ Styles going off with this would have made it more interesting, because if they had managed to make it that Robert Roode screwed Storm out of it, they could have finally had an ending to the feud with a I Quit match. This is what my humble belief. They finally need to finally end the feud. It isn't about James Storm winning and then Robert Roode losing at a rematch at maybe Victory Road or whatever else, or Genesis. This is about those two finally breaking off and either becoming friends again eventually or going to do something else. I believe the I Quit match would be the key to this. This is what I believe. But it's not too bad that AJ Styles is not going to be in the next tag championship match. There's no problem with it. James Storm doing it, that's not bad. It could still work exactly as I said. James Storm being screwed by Robert Roode at maybe Final Resolution. I keep forgetting if that is the one. I didn't check. I've been hectic in the last couple of days. But honestly, if by the next pay-per-view that happens, by Genesis, it would be great for I Quit match. This would finally end it. Totally and completely end it. So I didn't mind this match. And I love the backstage with AJ Styles where he looks totally defeated. Now the question is, what are they going to do with him next? Will he disappear for a while? Will he turn heel again? Will he stay face? We don't know. So it wasn't bad. And almost forgot. The part with the beer money slam and everyone screaming for beer money. Beer money! They were like screaming for them to do it. And they were just beginning to ramp up to it. And both of them just tried to kick each other's ass. That was good. I like that little bit. They teased the crowd with it because that's also something I may mention at the end of this review. I'm thinking about it if I don't forget. So I hope I don't forget, ladies and gentlemen. That's happened more than a few times in these reviews. Now, the Devon versus Angle match. By the time this match of Storm, Roode, and pretty much Styles was over, the crowd was dead. I mean, there were some cheers for Devon good and Devon bad, basically pops and heat. At the same time, he's still getting that. He's not fully over as a heel yet. or will he ever be? Because people like Devon. It makes no difference if you agree that Devon's a great wrestler or not. The crowd still has a split decision on him. Many people still see him as a good face. Others still see him as a good heel. They are split, screaming for him, let's go Devon, Devon sucks. Kind of like a John Cena thing right now. People like him that much. When it came to Angle, people just straight up cheered for Angle. The match itself was a standard match. It wasn't bad. It was a good match. At the end of it, you would expect Devon was going to win for the simple fact Aces and Eights gets around the ring. But you do have Angle making him tap out to the ankle lock. And then you hear, you're dead! You're dead! We're going to get you next! You're next! You're dead! And that's being spoken by Doc. So it looks like Doc is the next person that Angle's going to be going up against. Well, hopefully. I wouldn't mind Doc going up against Angle. At least it'll be something more. But the question is, are there going to be more Aces and Eights revealed? Or are we going to see less of the members of Aces and Eights? They need to either progress the story. No, we need a progression of the storyline. Because people are about to get bored with it eventually. But we also need to have, if there's going to be less people revealed, we need to get rid of them. Because it's going to confuse the people. So I'll leave it at that. Finally, we got the interview for Austin Aries, which was okay. And I liked it. It was good to see Austin Aries give that type of interview. He gives good interviews. I would have liked one with Hardy as well, but they didn't do that. It's okay. It's alright about that. The match itself was good. Like I said earlier, I believe the Styles, Rude, and Storm match was way better than the ladder match. And don't get me wrong, the ladder match was good, but I don't think it was at the caliber of the Triple Threat #1 Contenders match. The match was very good. There was a lot of high spots. People, by the time of Angle, they were still pretty flat. By the beginning of the match of Austin Aries and you have Hardy, it was pretty flat at first. There was a woman screaming, "Ah!" I thought that might have been canned heat, which it could still be, because it really didn't look like there was a lot of interest at first. So it's a good possibility that might have been canned heat, but if it wasn't, that woman was hard for a Hardy. It's a good possibility that person was. By middle of the match, Hardy and Austin Aries, the greatest man in the universe, started getting people interested. Hardy started getting a lot of pops. By the end of the match, you got a good amount of pops. It wasn't a huge, loud amount of pops like it was between the Triple Threat, but it was a good amount of pops. And by the end of it, and I wish to say that they did stuff in this ladder match that was totally different than any ladder match I've ever seen. When you had Austin Aries bury Jeff Hardy with the table, no, with the steps, I'm sorry, with the table, with the steps and the ladder, keeping him in position so he can climb up the ladder, that was good. We don't usually see that. When we saw Austin Aries go and get the electric control that controlled the belt and kept him from getting the belt, that was also different. It also makes you feel like, oh man, they're making Aries look like a chicken shit, that he can't really fight. No, I don't believe that. Austin Aries said it best. He will do whatever is necessary to get the business done. He will get it done, no matter if you like it or not. So if he has to cheat a little bit to get it done, but still back up what he does during the match, that's okay. He didn't run around like a chicken shit to get the business done. He went straight at Hardy, took the lumps, took the falls, and did it. Hardy won, which I didn't expect him to lose. I didn't. Question is now, what are they going to do with Austin Aries? Are they going to continue Austin Aries with this feud? Because if they're going to do 3 in a row, I'm going to be a little upset about it, because they can go and break Austin Aries off to do something else. Really. Now that James Storm has won the #1 contendership, maybe they can do something with James Storm and Austin Aries can do something else with someone. We just got to figure out who. Who is the next person Austin Aries would deal with? But I did like that match. I still believe the Triple Threat was better. Now, How do I rate this this pay-per-view? Taking away that not everyone was interviewed in the back, only a selected few, that upset me. They could have had interviews for Samoa Joe and Magnus. They could have had interviews with either the challengers for the tag team champions or the champions. Really, they could have done an interview with Angle or Devon. Well, I forgot that Devon did have a pre-tape before, but still, they could have done an interview with Angle. I give this a B. It was way solid. Much better than what WWE has been producing. And I wish to say, like I said something before, I believe that the best team right now that could help get the tag team divisions restarted, because there's really almost no one there. If after Genesis, let's say Genesis or Lockdown, once this feud between Storm and Roode is over, I would suggest they bring them both back together, because I don't believe Storm is going to hold that title very long if he does win it. So beer money may be needed for the tag team divisions right now. We don't have anybody that anyone's interested in. Motor City Machine Guns are gone. Inc. is gone. Mexican America is gone. The only ones we have is Kaz and Daniels and Chavo and Superman. Who else do we have? Nobody. Unless they bring some more people up from OVW. OVW is all we got. And I know they got a couple of tag teams down there, but they're not bringing them up. At least not right now. We need them. So the best team I know of would be Beer Money. So I still say this is a B show. Not bad at all. It was solid. There were some things I didn't like about it, but you can't get 100% of everything you want in a show. There's always going to be good and bad. So I hope you liked the Zane's View. Subscribe and comment. If you hear a lot of clicking in the background, I'm very sorry. Like I said, this is a new camera that's pretty cheap. And being on workman's compensation, I just don't have the cash right now to get a new proper camera. Hopefully when I can settle my case or get Social Security disability because of my bad injury, I can get a better camera. But until then, I just hope you can bear with me and you have a good night. And I hope you enjoy Raw. I will be doing a review of that as soon as possible. See ya.